is here, it's in safe hands. This is God work, not a fake plan. Too many kids being found in these lakes, man. This is MTG. Miss V, she keep her ear to the street, like a drum to a beat. This is the place that you wanna be, but all trolls
This channel may feature copyrighted video and audio content under the guidelines of fair use permitted by copyright statute for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. All content and credit go to the original creators. No copyright infringement is intended. This channel may feature copyrighted video and audio content under the guidelines of fair use permitted by copyright statute for purposes such as criticism, comment. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to MTGV Crime Podcast and MTGV Politics. There's so much going on in the world, y'all. We just gonna get right to it. We're gonna be covering the Epstein photos, files, and everything, the updates. So we just gonna get with it. Shout out to everybody in the building. Please smack that thumbs up as you come into the building.
To the committee. Mr. Chairman, thank you for getting the Secretary of Homeland Security and National Counterterrorism Center Director here today. Your predecessor couldn't seem to get that done, and I appreciate your commitment to holding this hearing. Each day, we've had more examples of Republicans abdicating their constitutional oversight responsibilities. Fortunately, unlike other chairs in this body, it appears that if you are serious about this committee work being done, and I compliment you for that. As I look at the witnesses table, though, I can't help but notice that FBI Director Kash Patel isn't here with Secretary Noem and Director Kent. I'd also say that we have just been provided Secretary Noem's testimony. I've been on the committee since its inception, and I've never had the rules violated where we couldn't get testimony so members of the committee could look at it until today. Today's hearing is supposed to be one of the most important exercises of this committee's oversight jurisdiction. Each year, we hear from the Secretary of Homeland Security, the Director of National Counterterrorism Center, and the Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, who is nowhere to be seen today. Maybe Director Patel is too busy spending taxpayers' dollars flying to his girlfriend's concert on the FBI's jet to answer questions from Congress. Maybe the FBI director isn't here because he's afraid of scrutiny from Democrats who want to know what the FBI is doing to keep America safe. Or maybe Director Patel knows that the Trump administration itself is a threat to Homeland Security and want to hide from public accountability. On the other hand, Director Kent is here, which is good because we have questions for him about NCTC's work, as well as his comments about the January 6th insurrectionists he called, and I quote, political prisoners, unquote, who deserve to be pardoned. Some of the people he defended, however, are back in jail for crimes like plotting to murder FBI agents and possession of child pornography. It's scary that these unserious people are in charge of keeping America safe from terrorism. But what's even scarier is that they work for an unserious and unhinged president who spends most of the days designing monuments to himself and finding new ways to hide the Epstein files. All of this puts America and its lives, people who live here, at risk every day. Now, Secretary Noem, everyone knows you love the spotlight. We've seen your commercials, but what you haven't provided to the committee, despite our many requests, are the questionable contracts that you've awarded to your friends to film you on the 2028 campaign trail. Unfortunately, this is nothing new. In their one big ugly bill, congressional Republicans gave you a blank check, Secretary Noem, and you have wasted no time spending it on yourself. Instead of deploying Homeland Security grants to protect churches and synagogues from terrorism, you handed your friends a $220 million contract so they could follow you around the country with a camera. Instead of fully funding the DHS agency that protects our hospitals, schools, and electrical systems from cyber attacks, you spent $200 million to buy yourself new
Welcome,
private
Caleb
jets.
and Dennis.
And instead of paying your way like the rest of us, you're living rent-free in a taxpayer-owned property that is supposed to be reserved for military leaders. Every penny that you spend on yourself represents the blood, sweat, and tears of hardworking Americans who expect their tax dollars to be spent on Homeland Security, not promoting you and your interests. Apparently, you haven't noticed that regular people are suffering under President Trump's affordability crisis. Or maybe you, like him, thinks it's a hoax and just don't care. Either way, such corrupt behavior hurts Homeland Security. But it's not just the corrupt behavior, Secretary Noem, that hurts Homeland Security. It's also your blatant disregard for the law. You cut programs and withheld congressionally appropriated money to prevent terrorist attacks and prepare for natural disaster. You eviscerated the Office of Civil Rights and Civil Liberties, which was supposed to keep DHS from violating American.
So we do have breaking news, like 2 U.S. soldiers and an interpreter was killed in a suspected Islamic attack that just happened. Well, it happened in Syria about an hour or so ago. I'm going to go to that right quick, and then I'm going to come back to this. Let's see what they saying.
Right now, I do want to take you back out to a breaking news story that we are covering internationally involving American troops. This is a post right here coming in from Fox News as a senior U.S. official confirming there that there have been several injuries after American service members were ambushed in Syria earlier on today. The official adding here that some of the injuries are believed to be serious. 2 local Syrian officials earlier telling Reuters that a convoy of U.S. and Syrian forces who were fighting the Islamic State terror group were targeted while on patrol in a central town in that area. And the Department of War telling Fox News Digital, quote, "We are aware
Welcome
of reports,"
in, Joe.
but added that it had, quote, "nothing additional to provide at the time."
Good to see you.
Jennifer Griffin with Fox News, who joins us quite a bit, posting this.
Okay, so what it says right here, and this was written by Reuters, December 13th, 2025 at 1:52 p.m. So this is fresh off the press. About 3 minutes ago, it says 3 U.S. personnel were killed in an attack in Syria. Islamic State probably carried out the attack, U.S. officials say. 3 U.S. soldiers were also wounded in the attack. So according to Reuters, 2 U.S. soldiers and a civilian interpreter were killed on Saturday by a suspected Islamic State attacker who targeted a convoy of American Syria forces, the U.S. military said. So the attackers was a member of the Syrian security forces. The attacker was a member of the Syrian security forces. 3 local officials told Reuters. A Syrian Interior Ministry spokesperson told a state-run television channel that the man did not have a leadership role in the security forces. So it also goes on to say on December 10th, the evacuation was issued, indicating that this attacker might also hold extremist ideas, and decisions regarding him due to be issued tomorrow on Sunday, the spokesperson said. 3 U.S. soldiers were also wounded in the attack, the U.S. Military Central Command said. So in a statement, the Central Command said the attack by a lone gunman
occurred as the soldiers were conducting a key leader engagement in the central Syrian town of Palmyra. Partner forces unalived the attacker. So partner forces killed the attacker. U.S. State of Defense Pete Hegseth wrote on social media. Okay. So what do y'all think about that? What are we doing in Syria? I have no idea. And then we know that they seized the oil tanker or something the other day. The UN has been bringing a member since 2000. We only have about 900 soldiers there. Russian, oh my God, I hope you don't vote. Okay, I'm going to let this play to see what more we can gather from this breaking news.
This on social media saying a senior U.S. official confirms to Fox that there have been multiple injuries after U.S. service members were ambushed in Syria. She says, developing, of course, there is a lot that we still do not know at this point, and we are following the latest, likely to get some information here at some point from President Donald Trump and potentially the Department of War Secretary Pete Hegseth. Now, we did hear from Dan Diker, president of the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs, telling Fox News Digital, quote, the United States, CIA, and military forces are reportedly deeply involved in securing and stabilizing the situation in Syria. As of June, the U.S. had about 1,500 troops left in Syria after withdrawals and consolidations that were ordered by the Pentagon. And that number expected to drop to just several hundred by the end of this year. That's according to Jennifer Griffin. Griffin did report that the U.S. had 8 bases in Syria to keep an eye on ISIS since the U.S. military went to prevent the terrorist group from setting up a situation taking place there in 2014.
So the White House just posted 1 minute ago, we mourn the loss of 3 great American patriots in Syria, 2 soldiers and 1 civilian interpreter. Likewise, we pray for the 3 injured soldiers who, it has been just confirmed, are doing well. This was an ISIS attack against the U.S. and Syria in a very dangerous part of Syria that is not fully controlled by them. The president of Syria, Ahmad al-Sarraj, is extremely angry and disturbed by this attack. There will be very serious retaliation. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Oh, wow. There will be very serious retaliation. Okay, so it says that's from Donald J. Trump, the president of the U.S. So, very, very interesting. That was 1 minute ago. And somebody else has said concerning that, they was like, this frustrates me. Our soldiers were killed by Islamics in Islamic State of Syria mere weeks after we allowed their terrorist leader to access the White House. This is why you never work with, appease to, or compromise with Islam. And then they have a picture of like the Trump and the guy shaking hands, and a picture of the U.S. soldiers and civilian interpreter killed on an ambush. They got like military equipment that they're showing. Somebody else said U.S. military reinforcements arrive in Palmyra, Syria after an ISIS ambush on U.S. troops. And that was an hour ago. Both of those were an hour ago. I'm going to let this keep going.
Although 3 of those bases have since been closed down or turned over to Syrian Democratic forces. Monday, tens of thousands of Syrians fled to the streets of Damascus to mark the first anniversary of the Assad regime's collapse 1 year ago. Those celebrations did come a year after former Syrian dictator Assad fled the capital as rebel forces swept through the country in a lightning offensive that ended 5 decades of Assad family rule and opened a new chapter there in Syrian history. Again, we are working to get some more information here as a senior U.S. official confirming to Fox that there have been multiple injuries after U.S. service members were ambushed in Syria. No number released. We know that some of the injuries are believed to be serious, but that is it at this point.
So somebody said, what is this? Britain is broken. Breaking ISIS have attacked U.S. troops. It says ISIS attacked U.S. troops as they were meeting with Syrian security forces in the Tadmir area. Now here it says 4 soldiers were killed with 3 others injured and evacuated by helicopters, A1 Tanf base. Okay, so Pete Hegseth said, if you target Americans anywhere in the world, you will spend the rest of your brief, anxious life knowing the United States will hunt you, find you, and ruthlessly kill you. That is what Pete Hegseth said.
And we are waiting for some potential comment here from President Trump or others, possibly the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. As we take a live look over the White House, we actually expect that President Trump will be exiting here to head over to the game that's going to take place later on today. That is the Army-Navy game. So we could potentially get some comments from him on that as he does leave the White House. If we see that happen, we're going to bring it to you here on Live Now from Fox, as we always do.
Let me see. What is this?
This 100-degree day is making a major impact on our community, too, including a focal point of many Fox 13 investigations, the supercomputers for XAI. Fox 13 investigative reporter Kayla Solomon had.
We're going to go back to what we were listening to, and I'm going to keep my eye out for more information.
For the law. You cut programs and withheld congressionally appropriated money to prevent terrorist attacks and prepare for natural disaster. You eviscerated the Office of Civil Rights and Civil Liberties, which was supposed to keep DHS from violating Americans' constitutional rights. Within your own department, you illegally fired employees and retaliated against whistleblowers who reported wrongdoings at DHS.
Oh, really, Richard?
And during a shutdown, when frontline employees were working without a paycheck, your press shop never stopped using its social media accounts to push out racist and xenophobic posts. Throughout your tenure, you diverted resources from critical homeland security agencies and programs to carry out an extreme immigration agenda.
Everybody, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I've noticed I haven't been live in a while, and I've noticed that a lot of people, several people have been unsubscribed from me. So can y'all double check, make sure you still subscribe to the channel and help us reach our goal of, our short goal of 300 subscribers.
You illegally,
or 300.
You illegally
300 thumbs up, y'all.
Ordered people deported to El Salvador, despite a federal court order and Department of Justice counsel instructing you to not do so. You illegally ignored a federal court order and shipped people off to South Sudan without due process. You are illegally blocking members of Congress from conducting oversight of ICE detention facilities, even though federal law demands that we have access. In the process of carrying out this extreme agenda, at your direction, DHS has terrorized, beaten, and detained hundreds, if not thousands, of American citizens. At your direction, DHS has illegally detained and deported American citizens, including U.S. citizen children with cancer. At your direction.
That is awful. So somebody posted, because I mean, we talking about a couple different things here. So what's breaking right now is that U.S. has been attacked. And now they're pointing out a guy that's in the crowd that they said detonated himself. And that is how this happened. I'm going to show a picture. It says the man who just detonated himself next to the U.S. patrol in Syria. The U.S. legitimized ISIS in Syria at the request of Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Wow. Let me show y'all this.
DHS has illegally gassed, pepper sprayed, and put their knees on the necks of Americans, including military veterans and clergy. At your direction, DHS has illegally tackled, beat up, and humiliated United States citizens, including senior citizens. At your direction, DHS has illegally tased, maced, punched, and even shot Americans. Black and brown Americans in particular have been racially profiled, detained, and locked up, and sometimes with tragic consequences. It's just one awful incident. A pregnant U.S. citizen was reportedly thrown to the ground, kicked and left in handcuffs for hours after immigration officers did not believe that she was an American. She later lost a baby. You cannot enforce the law by breaking the law, Secretary Noem. That's not how justice works. It's not right, and it's un-American. And when Congress tries to carry out its constitutional oversight responsibilities to question you about your department actions, you hide, often with the help of congressional Republicans. Never in the history of the committee has a Secretary of Homeland Security hidden from congressional oversight like you and your department have, Secretary Noem. Our oversight letters to you go unanswered. You owe us by extending the millions of Americans who sent us to Congress as their representatives a response to over a dozen letters. Your predecessor came before this committee regularly under administrations of both parties. But under President Trump, you and other department officials have rarely shown their faces at committee hearings. In the first year of President Biden's term, his administration made 28 appearances before this committee. 28. Under President Trump, DHS officials have appeared only 3 hearings before this committee, just 3. You, Secretary Noem, have appeared before this committee just twice. That's fewer appearances than your predecessor, Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, who Republicans lambasted for not coming before the committee more often. It's interesting how my colleagues on the other side are now. Secretary Noem, I'll give you one thing. You showed up today rather than throwing a civil servant under the bus like Director Patel did. But you have systematically dismantled the Department of Homeland Security, put your own interests above the department and violated the law. You are making America less safe. So rather than sitting here and wasting your time and ours with more corruption, lies, and lawlessness, I call on you to resign. Do a real service to the country and just resign. That is, if President Trump doesn't fire you first. I yield back.
If Trump don't fire you
back.
first.
Other members of the committee are reminded that opening statements may be submitted for the record. I'm pleased to have a highly distinguished panel of witnesses before us today.
Luke Bryans.
Pursuant to Committee Rule 8C, I ask that the witnesses please rise and raise their right hand. Do you solemnly swear that testimony you will give before the Committee on Homeland Security of the United States House of Representatives will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Please be seated. Let the record reflect that the witnesses have all answered in the affirmative.
What's going on with this?
I would like to now formally introduce our witnesses. First is Ms. Kristie Noem. She is the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Secretary Noem previously served as Governor of South Dakota and was a member of this distinguished House. Second is Mr. Joe Kent. He currently serves as the Director of National Counters Center with Office of Director of National Intelligence. Mr. Kent served in the U.S. Army completing 11 combat tours and a stint with the Central Intelligence Agency. Third is Mr. Michael Glasheen. He is Operations Director for the National Security Branch of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Mr. Glasheen has served in national security for more than 2 decades, including as Director of FBI's Terrorist Screening Center and Assistant Director to the National Security Branch. Prior to joining the Bureau, Mr. Glasheen served in the U.S. Marine Corps. I thank all the witnesses for being here today. I now recognize Secretary Noem for 5 minutes to summarize her opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ranking Member, for holding this hearing today and inviting me to be a part of it. I'm looking forward to discussing the worldwide threats that this country faces and the work that President Trump and his administration does each and every day to make America safe again. I'm very privileged and honored today to have my family with me. I'd like to introduce them to you.
What?
Disruptions of congressional business is a violation of law, is a criminal offense under federal law. Audience members are advised to take their seats and maintain order. The chairman may now ask Capitol Police to remove and arrest the persons creating the disturbance.
I can't understand nothing he's saying. My pleasure to
Secretary may continue.
I'll continue.
Thank you
Today
for
with
being a
me,
member
I
for
have
14
my husband,
months,
Brian,
Joe.
who's with me, and also 2 of my children. My oldest daughter, Cassidy, and her husband, Kyle,
Appreciate you.
are sitting here in the front row. And then my middle child, Kennedy, and her husband, Tanner, and that was my grandbaby, Noah, that was crying a
that's
little bit
weird.
during the ranking member's comments. I don't think she agreed with him. I don't have my son with me or 3 of my grandchildren, but I'm very blessed that I have a wonderful family who is here and loves this country and is grateful to the work that we get to do as a family each and every day. We also have the blessing of
Let me see what y'all saying. It is a lot going on, y'all. It's so many moving parts with this. I cannot keep up. I'm sure y'all can't. I mean, and then something that I found out about concerning AI that I did not know. First of all, they putting up these facilities everywhere, and there's been cuts to like air quality. A lot of jobs got cut, and a lot of things are not being checked anymore, and air quality is one of them. And I had ran across some residents of Memphis that didn't know that Elon was building this massive plant there that shoots out like toxic air, and a lot of people, the people of the town didn't even find out until it was already in motion. And a lot of people have developed COPD, and they're putting them. The first one was in Memphis. Like some of them they're buying up farmland and using massive amounts of electricity that's causing the residents' electricity to go up, and their usage is actually lower than it was before. We're going to get into that. I mean, but because finding out that stuff really disturbed me. And also, you know, what's going on with the food. We hear Trump say all the time, fake food, fake news, fake this. I think he knows a little bit of something about something. Like regulations are, have been chopped, and air quality and things like that that's important is not even being monitored. You know, that's what Elon paid for, though, from my understanding. That was one of the big things, that he didn't want any regulations, and no regulations mean a lot of health risks for everybody else. And we gonna prove it by showing what the people are saying, but we gonna get through some of this. Oh, and also I wanted to see what y'all was saying. If you don't like how I'm talking, because I'm just being me, you can get the fuck out of my chat, Gordon, since you're so damn smart and know everything. I just came from the other channel. Is this a pre-recorded? No, I am live. We are live. Now, this right here happened like the other day with Kristie Noem, but I just wanted to hear some of this. But I'm going to keep going because I don't even want to be distracted by the chat right now. But I'll read as
having some angel families with us as well. They are here in the audience, and I'm so grateful for them for being willing to come here and be strong. It's hard to lose someone that you dearly love to illegal criminal activity, to people who never should have been in our country to begin with, and to lose those loved ones to drug overdoses that get perpetuated by the terrorist organizations that filter them into our country that President Trump works so hard to stop. So I'm grateful that they're here and that they are telling their story. Under President Biden, he closed the office in the Department of Homeland Security that serviced these families. He closed it because he didn't want them to speak. He didn't want them to have support or services. And President Trump reopened the Voices office so that they can get services, so they can hear about the cases of the individuals who killed their family members, and they can get the kind of help that they need to get through the tragic grief that they've experienced. So I want to thank them for being here and continue to pray for them. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be in front of you today to discuss the wide range of threats that the Department of Homeland Security is working on to protect us from here at home and also around the world. Just 2 weeks ago, the day before Thanksgiving, a terrorist shot 2 of our National Guardsmen in Washington, D.C., killing Sarah Beckstrom dead, and Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf is still fighting for his life. Fortunately, we've had some really good news about Andrew recently, and he had the opportunity to stand up and is a miracle, and we're so grateful for his family for being so strong. We continue to lift him up and pray he has a full recovery. The terrorist who shot them was an Afghan national who entered the United States under Operation Allies Welcome. The same week, we arrested another Afghan national who came in under the same program. He was planning to carry out a bombing in Fort Worth, Texas. And just last week, just miles away in Washington, D.C., we arrested another Afghan national who also came in under Operation Allies Welcome. That individual provided support to the Islamic State of Iraq and ISIS-K and weapons to his father, who was a commander of a militia group in Afghanistan. Those are only a handful of the challenges that we face and the threats that the Department of Homeland Security stands against every single day. Under President Trump's leadership, DHS is securing our borders, we're restoring the rule of law, and we're protecting the homeland. DHS is eradicating transnational organized crime and the stopping of deadly drugs from continuing to be funneled into our communities. We're ending illegal immigration, returning sanity back to our immigration system, and we're defending against cyber attacks against our critical infrastructure. We have sent a strong message to criminal illegal aliens that we will find you, we will arrest you, and we will deport you. Our message has resonated to over 1.5 million illegal aliens who have gone home on their own voluntarily. At the same time, we as a country are still dealing with the mistakes, the errors, and the willful disregard of the last administration. For 4 years, the Biden administration allowed millions of people to come into our country illegally. Millions more in our country were exploited and were brought in under parole programs without even basic vetting. As a result, we've seen terrorist attacks and heinous crimes committed against American children and families by criminal illegal aliens and violent perpetuators who should have never been allowed into this country in the first place. Transnational organized crime groups, including Mexico's Sinaloa, New Generation Jalisco, and other drug cartels, they cause chaos and they harm American interests. Our critical infrastructure faces a perilous landscape, largely driven by the impact of cyber attacks from bad actors and cyber criminals. American citizens are increasingly under threat from assassination attempts, intimidation tactics, and violence perpetuated by our adversaries, radical Islamic extremists and domestic extremists. These bad actors seek to undermine our public trust. They instill fear in Americans. They destabilize the institutions that safeguard our national security. The United States is preparing to host several major public events in 2026, most notably the FIFA World Cup and the celebration of the 250th anniversary of our Declaration of Independence. These large-scale events will be potential targets for a range of bad actors, and they come with an increased level of risk. DHS is using every tool and authority we have to ensure the safety of U.S. citizens and our visitors can enjoy next year's events. Radicalized domestic violent extremists and lone actors are a concern, and intentional targeting and murderous attacks on ICE agents in Texas, parishioners in Michigan, and 2 National Guardsmen here in Washington, D.C. are just some of the acts, the despicable examples that unfortunately are becoming too common. These threats underscore a clear need for security strategies that counter both large-scale and individualized attacks. We will remain alert in our mission to protect this country. We will protect our citizens. And as we enter into a historic year, America will be on the world stage. Our economy faces challenges from anti-competitive and illicit foreign economic practices that hurt the prosperity of all Americans. Those include economic espionage, intellectual property theft, and customs fraud. Illicit front companies often abuse the visa system to acquire sensitive U.S. equipment, information, and technology. Economic security is national security because a country that cannot feed itself, can't fuel itself, and cannot provide for itself cannot possibly defend itself. Under President Trump's leadership, we will continue to protect American interests and bolster American economic power and technological innovation to further growth and prosperity. The American people depend on the Department of Homeland Security to remain vigilant, agile, and responsive. We will never yield, we will never waver, and we will never back down. Thank you for the privilege to be with you today, Mr. Chairman, and I look forward to your continued support of the work that we do. I yield back.
Thank you, Secretary Noem. I now recognize Director Kent for 5 minutes to summarize his opening statement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, ranking members, and all the members of the House. I appreciate the opportunity to appear before you and discuss the threats posed to our nation. Despite the progress that we've made so far in the Trump administration, the threat posed by terrorists of all brands remains very high right now. We've made significant progress under President Trump's leadership. We have the jihadis of ISIS and Al-Qaeda on the run in Iraq and Syria, thanks to the decisive action and the strikes that we've taken there recently since President Trump took office in January. However, we have a persistent threat from the individuals that were allowed into this country by the previous administration. The number one threat that we have right now, in my view, is the fact that we don't know who came into our country in the last 4 years of Biden's open borders. What we have identified is alarming, and I want to share that with you today. We just recently put out a warning.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate the jewels, the 100 jewels you sent. But can y'all please smack the thumbs up? We got 126 listening on the politics side with barely any thumbs up. Can you please double tap the screen to support the channel and the content? And goodbye to Gordon. Like, y'all can say whatever. Y'all can have conversation, talk between each other and all of that. But being rude, especially to the host, will get you blocked. I don't care what you think about me and how I talk. Get the fuck out of my chat if you don't like it. Just ignorant. But anyway, let's keep going.
Warning of the heightened risk of terrorist attacks posed to the homeland by terrorists pretty much of all stripes, but in particular from ISIS and from Al-Qaeda. NCTC has been crunching the numbers and going through the sheer volume of known and suspected terrorists that are in the country that came in under the Biden administration.
Say something dumb, you get blocked.
So far, NCTC has identified around 18,000 known and suspected terrorists that the Biden administration let come into our country. These are individuals who under normal circumstances would never be allowed to enter our country because of their ties to jihadi groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Yet the Biden administration not only let them into the country, and in many cases facilitated their entry into the country, just like the entry of the Afghan terrorists who committed the terrorist attack here just before Thanksgiving, killing one of our National Guard members and wounding another. That Afghan was brought into the country as a group of over 100,000 Afghans who were brought here during the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. These individuals, despite what has been reported, were not vetted properly to come into the United States. The individual terrorist who committed the attack in DC, he was vetted to serve as a soldier in Afghanistan. The Biden administration essentially used his tactical level vetting as a ruse to bring him here and to bring him into our communities. And we've seen the tragic results of that. Now, that Afghan, that attacker, that terrorist is just one of 88,000. We've identified 2,000 of that group of 88,000 who have ties to terrorist organizations. We're working right now hand in hand with DHS and with the FBI to run down this 2,000, the Afghans who came here under Allies Welcome who have ties to terrorist organizations, and additionally the other 16,000 individuals with ties to terrorist organizations that Biden let into our country. That is probably the top terrorist threat that we face right now, and that doesn't include the individuals who came here illegally through the open border. That number alarmingly remains unknown at this time. We're trying to figure out who those individuals are as well. Also adding to this elevated threat, we have ISIS and Al-Qaeda that have found sanctuary in places like Afghanistan and Syria due to the transitional nature of those governments. and also again in Iraq and some of the hinterlands of Iraq. And these terrorists are able to communicate and spread their propaganda and a lot of their know-how thanks to the proliferation of encrypted apps and also due to just the internet writ large. The new terrorist tactic that we're seeing more and more is moving away from very deliberate cellular attacks that we can infiltrate easily while they communicate into an inspirational methodology where you have key members putting out media and putting out how-to guides to reach out and to touch individuals inside the United States. We recently disrupted one of those attacks just before Halloween, thanks to the work of the FBI with support from really the entire U.S. intelligence community and the Joint Terrorism Task Force model in Michigan. That plot touched multiple states and had ties to ISIS inside Iraq and Syria. Another issue that we are addressing right now, thanks to the decisive leadership of President Trump, is the scourge of fentanyl, gang, and cartel violence. Under President Trump's leadership, we've designated these cartels and gangs as terrorist organizations, and we've done that rightfully so. These individuals, these terrorists, have killed hundreds of thousands of Americans, as these angel families will tell you firsthand. What President Trump has done by designating them as terrorists has allowed us to turn the tools of the intelligence community against them and predominantly watch list them as terrorists to prevent them from ever coming into America in the first place. To date, we've added about 35,000 of these narco-terrorists to our terrorist watch list, and we've stopped just around 6,000 of these terrorists from ever entering our country, from setting foot inside of America, so they can no longer kill Americans with impunity. These are just some of the issues that we're covering 24/7, 365 at the National Counterterrorism Center, and I look forward to discussing more with you all today. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kent. And now recognize Director Glasheen for 5 minutes to summarize his opening statement.
Good morning, Chairman Garbarino, Ranking Member Thompson, and members of the committee. I'm Operations Director Michael Glasheen. I oversee the FBI's National Security Divisions. I am honored to be here with you, representing the people of the United States, the FBI, who tackle the complex and grave threats we face with perseverance, professionalism, and integrity. Our nation faces serious and evolving threats ranging from international terrorists to hostile foreign intelligence operatives, from sophisticated cyber attacks to internet-facilitated sexual exploitation of children, from violent gangs and criminal organizations to public corruption and corporate fraud. Keeping pace with these threats is a significant challenge. Our adversaries take advantage of the internet, social media, and emerging technologies like artificial intelligence to influence the American people, facilitate illegal activities, and recruit followers. Even as 2026 marks the 25th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, terrorism remains a persistent but evolving threat. Over the past several years, the FBI has identified a particularly concerning uptick in the radicalization of young people. Radicalization of domestic terrorists most often occurs online. Social media and encryption have increased the speed and accessibility of the violent extremist content. International terrorists continue to pose one of the greatest, most immediate threats to the homeland. Some international terrorists and people located and radicalized to violence primarily inside the United States who are not receiving individualized direction from foreign terrorist organizations or FTOs, but are inspired to commit violence by FTOs such as ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Iran continues to plot attacks against former government officials in retaliation for the January 2020 death of Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, Commander Qasem Soleimani. Iran also continues to provide support to its proxies and terrorist organizations throughout the world, such as Lebanese Hezbollah. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and criminal ransomware continue to be the top cyber threats facing the United States. And there's no clear line where cyber criminal activity ends and nation-state activity begins. Critical infrastructure remains a highly attractive target for cyber criminals and nation-state actors due to the potential to cause widespread disruption, financial damage, and risk to our national security. The United States faces foreign intelligence threats as nations such as the People's Republic of China, Russia, and Iran become more aggressive and capable than ever. The PRC has deliberately created an environment that abuses global interconnectedness and encourages intellectual property acquisition using human intelligence officers, corrupt corporate insiders, foreign direct investment, and cyber intrusions. Russia continues to seek and acquire U.S. technologies to help rebuild its defense industrial base, relying on complex procurement networks to evade U.S. export controls and sanctions. The United States faces many criminal threats, including violent crime, financial and healthcare fraud, transnational and regional organized criminal enterprises, crimes against children, and human trafficking, violent threats against public election officials, personnel, and public corruption. Currently, the FBI-led task forces are staffed with over 9,000 federal, state, local, tribal, and territorial partners. Many of these task forces are focused on cartels, violent crime, drug trafficking, child exploitation, and human trafficking across our nation's communities. The FBI has and continues to establish strong capabilities to assess the threats, share intelligence, and leverage key technologies. We recruit the best to serve as special agents, intelligence analysts, and professional staff. Our leadership team views change and transformation as a positive tool for keeping the FBI focused on the gravest threats facing our nation. Over the past few months, we started the process to relocate hundreds of positions from the National Capital Region out to field offices across the country. This enhancement to field resources increases our investigative capacity across our 56 field offices and enhances the FBI's commitment to addressing violent crime, gangs, drugs, counterintelligence, and terrorism threats. Our fellow citizens look to us to protect the homeland from these threats. And every day, the men and women of the FBI continue to meet and exceed these expectations. I'm proud to represent them in testimony today, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you, Director Goshin. My understanding is a witness may have to leave early today. While I want to be clear, the committee did not agree to a hard stop. All witnesses are here voluntarily and are free to go. If a witness does leave, the hearing will continue with the remaining witnesses. Members will be recognized by order of seniority for their 5 minutes of question. We want to get through as many members as possible. So even though I have been lenient before with the 5 minutes, I'm directing members and witnesses that we're going to strictly enforce the 5-minute rule today. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes of questions. Secretary Noem, I appreciate you being here today, and you've been on the job less than a year, and this is the second time appearing before the committee, which I think is the norm, and I do really appreciate you being here. And I know you have a very important job to do. You oversee a lot of different sub-agencies, so I know you can't always be here in person. And with that, as a committee, we still want to work with the administration and conduct our oversight. So I'm asking you if you can commit to making sure that in the future, if we want to have a hearing, you'll be able to supply maybe a deputy secretary or somebody to come specifically talk about that.
Yes,
Issues we want to talk about.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I really appreciate that communication, and I think collaboration between the administration and Congress is key. Secretary Noem, I also wanted to ask you, in September, the department under FEMA proposed new allocations for counterterrorism grant funding, which cut dollars to New York by 80% because of a new formula. Considering New York is consistently a top terror target, this was surprising. We're grateful President Trump restored this grant funding, and pursuant to the present direction, has the department increased the allocation to New York?
Yes, President Trump did. I would say that when we look at the Homeland Security grants and how they're allocated, the formula focuses on where we see the threats today and where those communities are that need the resources. I would also inform the committee and you, Mr. Chairman, that New York City at the time of the allocation still had over $440 million in reserve that was available to them to utilize. So the intention of these grants is that communities and cities would use the dollars to build up the security measures that they need to do for a long-term impact, and that the same amount of dollars aren't necessary every single year. You need to meet the threats where they are in the country at the time the grant dollars are available. So thank you to all of you for your work on getting us dollars that we can give to grants to help secure our local communities and states. But when we're looking at cities that have hundreds of millions of dollars in reserves, we recognize that giving them hundreds of dollars of millions more may not be appropriate considering all of the threats that we have. But President Trump has sent more resources to New York City. We'll continue to meet the threats head on because that is our mission, is to make sure that we're looking at every single threat that we have. The formula that we have considered and have put in place recognizes what came over the border, where we see the infiltration going, which communities are impacted, and what we need to do to harden our systems.
I appreciate that, Secretary, and I appreciate the work you're doing with the president. I appreciate his decision to send that increased money to New York. I have a question. Since this is about worldwide threats, can you discuss what DHS's most significant concerns are today for the country?
I would say, Mr. Chairman, what keeps me up at night is that we don't necessarily know all of the people that are in this country, who they are and what their intentions are. We think up to 15 to 20 million people came in under the Biden administration on the invasion over the southern border. They were not vetted. They were allowed to pour in. Our parole programs, our asylum programs, our visa programs were all exploited, and the integrity was demolished under Joe Biden and the leadership of the Department of Homeland Security. And frankly, the entire department was neglected. In fact, I believe the Secretary was told at times not to do certain things by the Biden administration to facilitate this invasion. So what keeps me up at night is the individuals that are in this country that wish to do us harm. And that is why we are so aggressive at making sure that we're going out and doing investigative work, finding those violent criminals, finding those people who shouldn't be in this country to begin with, and those that want to go after and to harm our American citizens.
Thank you, Secretary. Director Kushine, as you heard and as you said, during the next few years, the United States will host more major events than ever before. This brings obvious security concerns, including counter drones, which we just passed some new authorities in the NDA yesterday. How is the FBI preparing for counter drone threats during mass gathering events?
Chairman, thank you for that question. Counter UAS, the passage of the legislation yesterday is a game changer for us. How we're preparing for that going forward, we just stood up a counter UAS school down in Huntsville, Alabama, where we will train federal officials, state locals, as well to assist with that preparation and implementation of using counter UAS technology. Prior to this passage, it was only the FBI and or DHS that could provide that assistance. Now that this passage of authority, it will allow us to have a greater handling of the threat to a mass event.
Thank you very much. I yield back. I now recognize the ranking member for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Gladstein, will you tell me the organizations that pose on the domestic side, two of the organizations, number one, number two, threat to the homeland at this point?
Can you please clarify, like organizations?
Any domestic terrorist organization that poses a threat to the homeland as we speak?
I'd say the first one, President Trump had just announced executive order domestic terrorist organization, Antifa. That's our primary concern right now.
All right, that's what President Trump did. What does the FBI say?
We share the same view. When you look at the data right now, you look at the domestic terrorist threat that we're facing. Right now, what I see from my position is that's the most immediate violent threat that we're facing on the domestic side.
So where is Antifa headquartered?
What we're doing right now with the organization.
Where in the United States does Antifa exist?
Yeah.
If it's a terrorist organization and you've identified it as number one.
We are building out the infrastructure right now.
So what does that mean? You say, we trying to get the information. You say Antifa is a terrorist organization. Tell us as a committee, how did you come to that? Where do they exist? How many members do they have in the United States as of right now?
Well, that's very fluid. It's ongoing for us to understand that. The same, no different than Al Qaeda and ISIS.
No, I don't want you. I'll ask one question, sir. I just want you to tell us. If you said Antifa is the number one domestic terrorist organization operating in the United States, I just need to know where they are, how many people. I don't want a name. I don't want anything like that. Just how many people have you identified with the FBI that Antifa is made of?
Well, the investigations are active.
So you wouldn't come to this committee and say something you can't prove. I know you wouldn't do that. But you did. Madam Secretary, you and the gentleman from NCTC reference the unfortunate accident that occurred with the National Guardsman being killed.
You think that was an unfortunate accident?
I mean,
It was a terrorist attack.
wait. Look, I'll get it straight. Then you can
He shot our
respond.
National Guardsman in the head.
Look, Mr. Chairman, will you direct the witness to allow me to ask my question? It was an unfortunate situation, but you blamed it solely on Joe Biden. I want you to know who approved the asylum application for this same person.
Mr. Thompson, this individual that came into the country.
No, I want to know who approved.
Congressman Thompson, I want you to understand. When this individual came into the country, he came under
I'm not going to let you.
Evacuation of Afghanistan under Operation Allies Welcome, was thoroughly vetted by the Biden administration at that point in time, allowed into our country, and then was never followed up. I want to remind everybody in Congress.
Reclaim my time.
We follow the law, and every asylum is supposed to have a check-in every single year, and the Biden administration failed to do that. They vetted this individual, allowed them into our country, and did not do due
The witness will allow the gentleman to ask his question.
Yes or no? Who approved the asylum claim?
The application on the asylum was thoroughly filled out by information that was gathered by the Biden administration.
So the
His
Biden
asylum-
administration approved the asylum.
The asylum application was put into place under the rules established by the Biden administration.
Reclaiming my time. I don't want to file perjury charges against you, but I'm of the opinion that the Trump administration, DHS, your DHS, approved the asylum application.
The asylum application moved forward under all of the information and vetting processes that were put in place under the Biden administration, which is when vetting happened. And that's what President Trump has changed. Under President Trump's administration.
Reclaim my time again.
When
it's obvious you don't want to answer the question. Mr. Kent, you want a shot at it?
The individual was vetted to serve as a soldier in Afghanistan, and that vetting standard was used by the Biden administration as a ruse to bring him here. Had we followed the standard operating procedures for special immigrant visas, that individual and none of the Allies Welcome people would have come to America. That's on Joe Biden.
Gentlemen's
just
time has expired.
That was the answer.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. That was a murder that took place in D.C. It was not an unfortunate incident.
Why are we talking
Those
about
comments
Biden?
are effing disrespectful.
Who is that?
I don't think we should be talking about Biden right now.
That's better from the
It's not a valid point of order. I will now recognize the gentleman from Texas, the former chairman, Mr. McCall, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Secretary, great to see you. This hearing reminds me of the novel, A Tale of Two Cities. They see it, the Dems see it as the worst of times, but I see it really as the best of times. And what do I mean by that? Under the Biden administration, 15 to 20 million illegal aliens, unvetted, as you indicated, came into this country. What I think most disturbing is Director Kent's testimony. 18,000 known or suspected terrorists got into this country under the Biden administration. That's why we impeached Mayorkas. I was one of the managers. He told his Border Patrol, you don't have to pay attention to federal law when it says shall detain aggravated felons. He disregarded federal law and says, you know what, may detain. It's discretionary. And guess what? We have thousands of aggravated felons now, or if not millions, in this country today. That was the worst of times. Let me go to the best of times. Most secure border I've seen in my 22 years in Congress. And I've dealt with this for a long time. Coming from Texas, being chairman of this committee, the daily crossings are 95% down from the prior administration. That's the best of times. zero catch and release. My very first bill in Congress 22 years ago was to end catch and release. 22 years later, we finally have achieved that goal. That, Madam Secretary, is the best of times, an all-time record low. America is safer today. I feel so. And when I look at the Venezuelan vessels attacked, the president had every right under the Constitution, Article 2, international waters, cartels designated as FTOs, coming into our country to spread poison to kill Americans. If that's not self-defense.
Do y'all agree with that? It was a lot of controversy about who those people were. They didn't get pulled over. They didn't get due process. And they were allegedly just fishing. I don't know. What do y'all think about the vessel being attacked? Blown up twice?
I don't know what it is. And then finally, Madam Secretary, thank you for taking out the shadow Iranian oil tankers headed from Venezuela to Cuba, getting around our sanctions that Congress passed. I'm finally seeing an administration flexing its muscle in this hemisphere, which has been neglected for so many years. So air, land, and sea is your charge.
The biggest concern is that they are actually criminals or drug lords or whatever, and not fishermen. Like, that was the biggest issue, and a lot of people didn't agree with it. And it's been said that it was against the law. What do y'all think in the chat? Put a 1 in the chat if y'all think it was justified.
It's the military's charge as well. I see the land secure. I see the maritime borders getting more secure, and I applaud you for that. On the air secure piece, I chair the Special Events Task Force. That's FIFA, the Olympics, the 250th anniversary. Drones are the biggest threat as I see it. I see it in Ukraine in its conflict with Russia, and I see it.
Right, and that's what they were saying. It was like the Coast Guard should have pulled them over to find out who they were, not just bomb them. What if they were some traffickers and it was kids in the vessel that got hurt?
Across our border, and I see it at these events. If you could update me, and with the new NDA authorization to allow federal, state, and locals to work together to identify hostile adversary drones and take them down, can you tell me how that will?
So somebody said you can't just unalive people on a whim, like, or just a suspicion. Like, how about pull them over and see what's really going on and then act accordingly? I mean, that's what I would want.
Impact your ability, Madam Secretary, to better secure these special events.
Yes, thank you, Congressman McCall, and thank you for your leadership. I understand you're retiring, and I'm sad about that. You've been a statesman. Thank you for serving with such dignity.
Thank you.
The counter drone and drone technology that is out there today, frankly, our authorities haven't kept up with. And so thank you for that legislation. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to truly defend the homeland. Here at the Department of Homeland Security, we are going to be investing upwards to $1.5 billion into drone technology and counter drone technology and mitigation measures that we can deploy not just across different NSC events or large scale events that we're responsible for the security on, but also that we can use to partner with cities and states for celebrations and different things that they may hold as well. So we have the responsibility at the Department of Homeland Security for FIFA and the 11 cities that will be hosting the matches here in the United States, also the Olympics, the America 250 celebrations. Also,
okay, and yeah, speaking of FIFA, I want to go to that in a minute. We don't have forever, so I'm gonna have
other
to switch.
National security events that happen, such as Mardi Gras and other events that are going on throughout the country. So this program that we will have will not only work within the events that the department is responsible for, but we will be able to sign agreements with states and cities to provide measures that they don't currently have. And we're working with the FAA as well to get what we need to be able to operate. And we don't want just to detect. We don't want to just monitor. We need to mitigate. We need to take these drones down. We need
If
to.
I could add, my time's going to expire.
Let's go to this right quick. This is the FIFA award that she was just mentioning. Let's see. Or FIFA.
A few months ago in Sharm el-Sheikh, the peace in the Middle East agreement regarding Gaza. I was in Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur for the peace between Cambodia and Thailand. Yesterday here in Washington, the Washington Peace Agreement between Rwanda and the DRC. Well, this is what we want from a leader that cares about the people. We want to live in a safe world, in a safe environment. We want to unite. That's what we do here today. That's what we'll do at the World Cup, Mr. President. And you definitely deserve the first FIFA Peace Prize for your action.
So a lot of people have been talking about this throughout the week, and they basically saying that they created a reward because he's been talking about the Nobel Peace Prize and all of this stuff. And they, like they just said, this is the first time ever. And they created it just for him. Let's keep going.
For what you have obtained in your way, but you obtained it in an incredible way. And you can always count, Mr. President, on my support, on the support of the entire football community or soccer community to help you make peace and make the world prosper all over the world. Thank you very much, Mr. President. The floor is all yours. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. This is truly one of the great honors of my life. And beyond awards, Johnny and I were discussing this. We saved millions and millions of lives. The Congo, as an example, over 10 million people killed, and it was heading for another 10 million very quickly. And it just, the fact that we could do that, India, Pakistan, so many different wars that we're able to end, in some cases, a little bit before they started, just right before they started. It was going to be late, but we got them done. And it's such an honor to be with Johnny. I've known Johnny for so long. He's done such an incredible job. And I have to tell you, you've set new records on ticket sales. And not to bring that up, because we don't want to bring a thing like that up right now, but it's an awfully nice tribute to you and to the game of football, or as we call it, soccer, but football. And that is an amazing thing. The numbers are beyond any numbers that anybody, even beyond what Johnny thought was possible. I want to thank, by the way, my family, my great First Lady, Melania. You're right here, and thank you very much. And I think you're going to have an event the likes of which maybe the world has never seen. Based on the enthusiasm that I've seen, I have never seen anything like it. We've had a tremendous working relationship with Canada. We have our Prime Minister of Canada there, and we have our President of Mexico. And we've worked closely with those two countries, and the coordination and friendship and relationship has been outstanding. And I want to thank you both very much, and your countries very much. But most importantly, I just want to thank everybody. The world is a safer place now. The United States 1 year ago was not doing too well. And now I have to say we're the hottest country anywhere in the world, and we're going to keep it that way. Thank you all. Thank you. Have a great time. And Johnny, a tremendous honor. Thank you.
Okay. It's always, it is nonstop since he's gotten in office. And we talking about a war right now because I just put in that picture, but for whatever reason, I don't see it. Hold on. Let me see something.
It's not even close. The latest preliminary numbers released from the month of November show we have the most secure border in our nation's history. This is a remarkable achievement. November encounters came in even lower than the previous historic low in October, if you can believe it. There were only 30,367 total encounters nationwide. That's lower than the previous record set in October. And for the 7th consecutive month, U.S. Border Patrol released 0 illegal aliens into the United States. Let me repeat, 7 months of 0 illegal aliens being released into our country. This is a historic achievement, and it's one that every law-abiding American citizen should be grateful for. At this point, in 10 months under President Trump's unmatched leadership, we've seen less apprehension
for, but we will be able to sign agreements with states and cities to provide measures that they don't currently have. And we're working with the FAA as well to get what we need to be able to operate. And we don't want just to detect, we don't want to just monitor, we need to mitigate. We need to take these drones down. We need to.
So y'all see what it says as far as the war, the explosion or whatever that just happened. I don't know if people were shot or something detonated because I seen shot somewhere else, but this is the man who just detonated himself next to a U.S. patrol in Syria. So was it a detonation or was it bullets? Let me know what y'all heard. But that's what that says right there. And it was also an attack in Venezuela.
My time's going to expire. There is so much technology out there today, counter drone technology, that I've been working to get into Ukraine to protect them from Russian drones that we can deploy at these events. I'd love to visit with you on that at a later date. And thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
Gentleman's time's expired. I now recognize the gentleman from California, Mr. Correa, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I agree with my colleague from Texas. It is a tale of two cities. Secretary Noem, Trump administration, you're going after the worst of the worst criminals, and we agree with you.
Wait, did my mic go
The problem
out?
is 70% of the people you've arrested have no criminal record. You're going after non-criminal immigrants. We'll play a video on this as well, please.
Wait, can y'all hear that? Hold on. Let me check my stuff.
Masked federal agents were filmed pinning a man to the ground and repeatedly striking him in the head and neck before putting him in an unmarked car. The man in the video has been identified as Narciso Barranco and is the father of 2 active duty Marines and 1 Marine veteran. The Department of Homeland Security said an illegal alien was arrested by Border Patrol agents after he, quote, assaulted federal law enforcement, adding that Barranco, quote, swung a weed whacker directly at an agent's face. Video shared by DHS and reviewed by CNN shows Barranco running with a weed whacker, but does not show him striking officers.
I also have with us today Alex Barranco behind you, a retired Marine. That's his father. And Alex, on behalf of myself, members here, I want to thank you for your service to our country, and we also thank your brothers for serving our great country. Thank you very much. Got another case. George Rete, 25-year-old, native of California, my home state. He's a U.S. citizen, Army veteran who served in Iraq. Well, on his way to work, he came to an immigration checkpoint, pulled over. I don't know where officers deployed tear gas on him, broke his car window, pepper sprayed him, and dragged him out of his car. An American citizen held for 72 hours without any charges, wasn't even given the opportunity to shower, to wash off that paper spray.
Gentleman's time's expired. I now recognize the gentleman from Mississippi, Mr. Guest.
Mr. Chairman, I have 2 articles I'd like to present for the record.
Unanimous consent.
Welcome, Antasharia.
Under President Trump, an agency intended to keep Americans safe has diverted resources from child abuse, trafficking, and terrorism to immigration enforcement. Second is this letter from my Orange County Sheriff, Don Barnes, essentially talking about all the individuals under Prop 50 referred to ICE 2025 year to date. 50 of them.
Without objection.
ICE never showed up to pick them up.
Without
Mr.
objection.
Chairman?
I will
Mr. Chairman?
entertain,
Chairman?
I will entertain UCs at the end of the hearing. I want to entertain all UC motions at the end of the hearing. We have witnesses. I want to make sure everybody has time. So if we do this now, we do have a witness has to leave. You're just going to be taking time from other members, but I will entertain UC motions at the end of this hearing. I now recognize the gentleman from Mississippi, Mr. Guest, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Secretary, it's great to see you again. Thanks for appearing before us again. I want to echo some of the remarks of Mr. McCall. I want to first thank you. I want to thank the men and women who serve under your command for the incredible job that you have done over the last 12 months. We have seen that you are active in enforcing the rule of law. We have seen a border that is as secure in our lifetime as we have ever seen. You mentioned in your opening statement over the last 4 years, we saw somewhere between 15 to 20 million illegal immigrants enter the country. Just looking at monthly statistical data, we know that under the Biden-Harris administration, that in December of 2024, that there were over 300,000 illegal immigrants who were encountered along the southern border in that month alone. Recent statistics by the Department of Homeland Security for October, the most recent statistics we have, show that the number of border encounters for October of this year under your leadership have dropped to 11,000, a decrease of over 95%. And so I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for the work that your men and women have done to protect our borders from illegal narcotics entering the country. We saw a press release the Coast Guard sent out this week regarding Operation Pacific Viper. And they mentioned a specific seizure that occurred on December the 2nd by the Coast Guard cutter Monroe, in which in a single incident of interdiction, that the Coast Guard had the largest maritime interdiction seizure in almost 20 years, seizing 20,000 pounds of cocaine in an individual seizure. So I thank you for your aggressive actions in enforcing the law and for the incredible work that you and the men and women under your command are doing. I want to talk about, as we talk about threats, I want to talk about threats against law enforcement. Last week, this committee, we had a hearing. The hearing was entitled When Badges Become Targets. And during that hearing, we talked about the threats to law enforcement, specifically federal law enforcement, and even specifically within federal law enforcement, the threats toward ICE agents, the threats toward you and other members of leadership within DHS. We know that those threats and those incidents of physical attack have escalated dramatically, in some cases over 1,000%. And part of the driving force, I believe, behind those threats is what I refer to as rhetoric against law enforcement. And I brought this up last week, and I want to bring this up again with you and give you a chance to briefly address this. These are just roughly 10 of the statements that I was able to easily find online by elected officials, governors, mayors, in many cases, members of Congress, where they were spewing what I believe to be very harmful statements toward law enforcement. Governor Pritzker claimed that ICE is grabbing people off the street and disappearing them, that our country is becoming Nazi Germany. Representative Crockett compared ICE to slave patrols. Representative Garcia referred to ICE as thugs. Representative Ramirez attacked ICE as a terror force, later a terrorist organization, and then later in the hearing said, let me be clear, the Department of Homeland Security, you can quote me on that, is the single biggest threat to public safety right now. Representative Tlaib said ICE is terrorizing our community, turning our country into a fascist police state. Representative Jayapal called ICE agents deranged and said it's inspiring to obstruct immigration enforcement. Governor Walz smeared ICE agents as modern-day Gestapo. Chicago Mayor Johnson accused ICE of being secret police and terrorizing our community. Representative Lynch referred to ICE agents as the Gestapo and nondescript thugs. And Representative Frost compared ICE operations to some of the worst horrors and crimes against humanity in history. And so, Secretary Noem, I'd like to give you a few moments to, one, address these statements and to speak to how these statements place the safety of our men and women of law enforcement at risk.
Thank you, Congressman Guest. I appreciate you giving me the chance to talk about this because I think the words that these elected officials have used to describe our law enforcement officers are horrific, shocking, and unacceptable. Every single American citizen should find the words that they have used to describe these men and women that took an oath to keep us safe unacceptable and needs to be pointed out that we are seeing the consequences of those words every single day by the violent attacks. 1,000% increase in violent attacks, 8,000% in death threats.
Gentleman's time expired. I now recognize the gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Tanadar, for 5 minutes.
So do y'all think ICE has done a good job getting rid of so-called illegal aliens, people, criminals? Have they done a good job of that? Or are y'all also hearing about American citizens being arrested, people with no criminal histories, people that's citizens? I mean, what have y'all been hearing? Let me know.
Question. Please remember to stick to the 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Garbarino and Ranking Member Thompson, for having this hearing today. I know the American people have been demanding answers from this administration on their unlawful actions. So I hope we are able to get some useful answers from our witnesses today. Secretary Noem, this past May, I asked you during a congressional hearing if it was the policy of DHS to follow orders issued by federal courts. You said on the record, and I'm quoting here, "We are following all federal orders." End of my quote, end of your quote. Secretary Noem, you lied to me under oath that day. You lied to the American people, and you have betrayed the trust placed upon you in your role as Secretary of Homeland Security. You defied federal court orders when you refused to order the deportation flights to El Salvador in March to turn around. Federal courts have also found your department to have violated federal injunctions in your continue to send non-citizens on deportation flights, with some courts having called your orders unlawful. Secretary Noem, I just have 3 questions for you. 1, why did you lie under oath by saying DHS was following all federal court orders when they clearly were not?
Congressman.
Question 2, let me finish my questions. Question 2, why did you mislead the American people when you said that no American citizens have been arrested or detained by federal immigration agents? And my last question, number 3, Donald Trump said that your ICE agents haven't gone far enough. Do you think terrorizing American citizens and assaulting peaceful protesters isn't far enough?
Congressman, the Department of Homeland Security and this administration complies with all federal court orders. We always have and we always will.
Not true.
And we will continue to appeal. And sir, I will even tell you that at the highest court, at the Supreme Court, the Department of Homeland Security in our litigation has an over 90% success rate in winning at the highest court in our battle against activist judges across this country.
Madam Secretary,
we will continue to appeal. And then when it gets to the highest court and we get a decision, it is proven that we are right, that we have been compliant. I will also say,
Madam Secretary, let me.
You want me to answer your questions or not?
I do, but let me. You haven't been telling us the truth. Look, there have been at least 170 known cases of citizens being arrested or detained by federal immigration agents this year alone. This is the truth. Are you lying to the American people right now by denying these reports?
When we are doing our targeted enforcement operations against criminal illegal aliens, individuals that are in that area may be detained until we verify who they are, and then they are released. This has been done for years, and every single law enforcement operation that has always happened, we follow the same protocols, and we continue to do that. We have never once detained or deported an American citizen. We have not held them and charged them. When we find out and verify their identity, then that is when they are released. You also asked about ICE agents going far enough. Sir, I will tell you that.
So let me know put a 1 in the chat. Who lying, him or Kristie? Put a 1 in the chat if it's Kristie, a 2 in the chat if it's him. Like, where do we get the truth at, y'all? I believe the truth is in these hearings, and let me know what y'all
Every
think.
single ICE agent, CBP agent, federal law enforcement officer that's out there doing their work every day, none of them will rest until our communities are safe. None of them will rest until
Secretary Noem, it is a fact that you ignored federal orders.
And our children and our grandchildren can grow up.
Let me reclaim my time here, please. Let me reclaim. Secretary Noem, it is a fact that you ignored federal court orders in March and in May of this year. Do you plan on ignoring more federal orders? I'm sick of your lies. And the American people demand the truth.
Because you keep saying it doesn't make it true.
I am sick of your lies. The American people are sick of these lies. American people demand truth.
America is very happy that finally they have a president in the White House that gets up every day to keep them safe.
Madam Secretary, your incompetence and your inability to truthfully carry out your duties of Secretary of Homeland Security, if you're not fired, will you resign?
Sir, I will consider you're asking me to resign as an endorsement of my work. Thank you. very much.
Wait a
I yield
minute.
back my time.
Gentleman yields back his time. I'll remind members that they are entitled to ask questions during their.
Far enough. Do you think
Okay, so I just came across a document. Let me see what this person is saying. So somebody said, why should he? He's not afraid of Stephen Miller and his juvenile wife, nor the convicted felon, and especially Ice Barbie Kristie Noem. And so it says, just then, Judge Bosberg won't back off his planned contempt hearing next week, and says the crime fraud exception would overcome potential privileges. So this is like a court order, and it's saying the United States District Court for the District of Columbia. It says JGG plaintiff and versus Donald Trump. So let me come over here right quick. Okay, so what it's saying is on December 8th, 2025, the court ordered that live witness testimony would be warranted in its inquiry into whether a contempt reference is appropriate. And then it tells us about C sections and numbers and all this. It says the government now moves for reconsideration, asking the court not to conduct such hearings or alternatively to greatly restrict testimony. The court will deny motion. So it says to begin an inquiry is not some academic exercise. Approximately 137 men were spirited out of this country without a hearing and placed in a high security prison in El Salvador, where many suffered abuse and torture. Despite this court's order, they should not be disembarked. And then it says, watch, you have arrived in hell. Torture and other abuse against Venezuelans in El Salvador mega prison. So it says the question the court must now answer is whether this occurred via contumacious conduct by the judge officials. See United States versus Young, which we ain't about to see that. But I'm just trying to see. It says then legal advice. Okay, it says it was apparently discussed. In any event, to the extent that future contempt was being considered, the crime fraud exception would vitiate any privilege. The court will remain mindful of attorney-client privilege that many pertain to other communications as the testimony proceeds, and the government will be free to object to the particular questions. At this stage, however, plaintiffs have pointed out numerous reasons why the privilege might well not apply. Okay, it says the court furthermore will limit the scope of the testimony of the current case and not permit questions regarding the particulars of other cases that witnesses may have worked on, unless there's some direct showing of relevance. In sum, the court see no reason to delay the entire hearing while waiting for further unsuspected appellant guidance. All right, and so I also know that Kristie Noem, she walked out of this meeting before it was over, and they had something to say about that too. I guess she had another meeting, but they said it was canceled and she could have stayed. Wait, what is this? Okay, I'm gonna keep it going, and I'm still looking.
terrorizing American citizens and assaulting peaceful protesters isn't far enough?
Congressman, the Department of Homeland Security and this administration complies with all federal court orders. We always have, and we always will.
Not true.
And we will continue to appeal. And sir, I will even tell you that at the highest court, at the Supreme Court, the Department of Homeland Security in our litigation has an over 90% success rate in winning at the highest court in our battle against activist judges across this country.
Madam Secretary,
we will continue to appeal. And then when it gets to the highest court and we get a decision, it is proven that
I
we
want
are
to reclaim my
right,
time
that we
here.
have been compliant. I will also say, you talk
Madam
about deporting of
Secretary, let
US
me.
You want me to answer your questions or not?
I do, but let me. You haven't been telling us the truth.
Okay, so I see here that what's his name, Abrigo Garcia. It says an activist judge has released the Maryland father Kilmer Garcia. It says the same MS-13 gang member who something. Let's see what he's saying here, because they was trying to arrest him again. I don't get all this. Oh, never mind. I can't understand. I don't know what he's saying. Never mind. Yeah, I don't know. He don't speak English. Wait, hold on. Press Homeland Security.
Terry, I haven't either, but veterans, have you deported?
Sir, we have not deported U.S. citizens or military veterans.
I don't believe you served in the military. I haven't either, but I think you and I can agree that as Americans, we owe everything to those who have served our country in uniform, particularly those who have served in combat. Do you agree with that?
Sir, I believe that people that are in this United States that are citizens have legal status here.
Madam Secretary, we are joined on Zoom by a gentleman named Sejun Park. He is a United States Army combat veteran who was shot twice while serving our country in Panama in 1989. Like many veterans, he struggled with PTSD and substance abuse after his service. He was arrested in the 1990s for some minor drug offenses, nothing serious. He never hurt anyone besides himself, and he's been clean and sober for 14 years. He is a combat veteran, a Purple Heart recipient. He has sacrificed more for this country than most people ever have. Earlier this year, you deported him to Korea, a country he hasn't lived in since he was 7 years old. Will you join me in thanking Mr. Park for his service to our country?
Sir, I'm grateful for every single person that has served our country and follows our laws.
Can you please tell Mr. Park why you deported him?
Every one of them needs to be enforced.
But you understand that many veterans struggle with PTSD, many veterans struggle with substance abuse challenges. This man took 2 bullets for our country. You have broad authority, by the way, as Secretary, to issue humanitarian parole, to do deferred action.
So this proves that the truth is not being told here because they got the receipts.
Commit to at least looking at Mr. Park's case to see if you can help him find a pathway back to this country that he sacrificed so much for?
I will absolutely look at his case, but I want you to remember that
Madam Secretary, the man behind you, please stand up, sir. His name is Jim Brown from Troy, Missouri. He is a Navy combat veteran who served our country in the Gulf War. He's married to a woman named Donna, who came to our country legally from Ireland when she was 11 years old. She has lived here for 48 years. Because of you, Jim's wife, Donna, has been in prison for the last 4 months. She did not come here illegally, and she has never committed any crime other than writing 2 bad checks totaling $80 10 years ago. She is currently in prison and facing deportation. Ms. Noem, will you thank Mr. Brown?
Now, I remember hearing about this lady and didn't realize that she was still in prison
for his service to our country.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for your service to our country.
Now, what possible explanation can there be for locking up his wife for 4 months when she has committed no crime other than writing a couple of bad checks for $80?
Sir, it is not my prerogative, my latitude, or my job to pick and choose which laws in this country get enforced.
You have broad discretion as the secretary. You can issue parole, you can do all kinds of things, but you're choosing not to. Will you commit again to just reviewing Donna's case and reuniting this combat veteran with his beloved wife, who also loves this country?
I will review the case.
Now, Madam Secretary, you've already heard the story of Lance Corporal Alejandro Barranco, the United States Marine veteran who is behind you, who also has 2 brothers who are United States Marines. Will you thank Lance Corporal Barranco for his service?
Thank you for your service.
His father, Narcisco Barranco, is a landscaper in California who has lived peacefully in our country for 30 years and has no criminal record. Last spring, while he was mowing the lawn at an IHOP, ICE agents tackled him in the street and imprisoned him for weeks.
Wow.
A peaceful, hard-working man who raised 3 sons to be United States Marines. We need men of that character in this country. Again.
Yeah, it's been a lot of arrests happening, man. A lot of people that shouldn't have been arrested. So thank you for the coffee, Coco. Laura, I appreciate it. I happened to see it. That's so cute. I never get to see them, but I seen that one. I appreciate it. Let's keep it going.
Are entitled to reclaim their time. So we're going to have questions and answers. Please allow it. You can reclaim your time if you want, but witnesses are here voluntarily. Please at least give them a chance to answer the questions that you're asking. I now recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Pfluger, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it's unfortunate that our colleagues on the other side of the aisle for 5 straight years now have no concern for anything worldwide threats wise.
Hold on, I'm trying to get through a little quick. So this person said, who makes up this shit? Isn't Kristie Noem just following orders? Well, we ain't gonna say that. Let's see what this lady's saying.
You reject checks and balances, so look, I want to be very clear. You have misused resources appropriated by Congress. You've engaged in unethical behavior. You have repeatedly made false and misleading statements to Congress and to the press, and you've undermined the separation of powers and disregarded the role of Congress and the courts. Bottom line, you lie with impunity. You reject checks and balances, and you ignore Congress and the courts. Your options are limited. Either you're going to resign, Trump's going to fire you, or you will be impeached. I've already called for your resignation. You may remember I hand-delivered my request to you back in May, and I urge you to reconsider resignation because I've taken the first step towards your impeachment, and I've called on the Judiciary Committee to open an investigation into your lawlessness.
I see him,
Mr.
Ryan.
Chairman, I know that at the end will be...
I see the clips of her walking out, but I don't have them in here to show. But yeah, I do see
entering
it.
a number of articles into consent, but since I have a few moments, I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a letter calling the Judiciary Committee to investigate Secretary Noem's impeachable offenses. Whatever you choose, the American people will have justice, Secretary, and you will be held accountable.
All right, let's go back to this.
I have proven that. We're supposed to be talking about worldwide threats, but unfortunately, we're talking about homeland threats in our homeland. And Director, can you just reaffirm the number for us of people that match the terror watch list that are in our country?
There's 18,000 known and suspected terrorists in the country right now that came in under Joe Biden's watch.
18,000.
See, right here, somebody said Kristie Noem ditches testifying for Congress using a canceled meeting as her excuse. Let's see.
Steered the money to them. It's corrupt is the word. That's what I would have liked to ask the secretary about today. I would have asked if she personally approved the money that flowed to her political and personal allies. I would have asked if whether when she was governor of South Dakota in 2023, and the same firm got $8.5 million of taxpayer money, whether she steered the money to them. Because an official in her administration said she did. That's what I would have asked her.
I want us to find more about the canceled meeting and where exactly was she going. Now that's wild. So that means she left because she didn't want to answer the questions. It was getting too hot and heavy up in there, right? What?
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
And that's just what we know of, Congressman.
Secretary, despite even members on this committee that have called our law enforcement and ICE. And
somebody said, is there anything Kristie Noem won't lie about? So Kristie Noem has been embarrassing Democrats for 10 straight months. She's done in 10 months. Would you guys couldn't do a 4-year sit down and let the woman take care of America? What? Wait, hold on. Somebody said Kristie Noem is making Democrats look horribly bad and embarrassing. She's done in 10 months with the guy what you guys couldn't do in 4 years. Sit down, let the woman do her job. And then this is Congressman Robert Garcia. He didn't say that, but it says here, ICE and DHS is wrongfully detaining U.S. citizens, including a veteran who served in Iraq. So I believe that's the one we just heard about. But this canceled meeting, let's look into that.
DHS and Border Patrol and other agents, names and slandered them. I support you and I support what you're doing to secure the homeland. The Working Families Tax Act allocated $13.5 billion to the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice to reimburse states for the cost of the Biden-Harris administration's open border policies. No state suffered more than Texas.
Okay, so somebody said DHS Secretary Kristie Noem stood up in the middle of a hearing today, well, it was 2 days ago, while being questioned by the members of Congress and left the room. The FEMA meeting she left to attend, it had already been canceled. Why are you hiding from the American people? Somebody said. And then somebody said, breaking, Congressman has confirmed that the Congress Moskowitz, Moskowitz, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, has confirmed that the FEMA meeting Kristie Noem claimed she left today's hearing for was canceled. Did they tell her did she know it was canceled before she left? And then this is Don Lemon. Let's see what he's saying.
That makes no sense. She's being criticized for leaving, saying that she had to attend a meeting, but she's accused of misleading Congress about the early hearing departure because the meeting had been canceled. The Hill is reporting that Homeland Security Secretary Kristie Noem was accused of misleading House Homeland Security Committee members when she said she was departing a Thursday hearing early to attend another meeting that was actually canceled. It's an assertion denied by Noem's office.
That's wild.
Which said she only found out her meeting was canceled after she left the witness table. She couldn't walk back in there? That makes no sense.
I agree. Now, once she found out it was canceled, she could have walked back in. How soon did she know? And if you're already at a meeting and you got another one, wouldn't you double check to make sure that it's not canceled before you leave the meeting that you're in? This is very interesting.
I am in front of a very important hearing in front of the world, live, answering questions that I should be prepared
Welcome in, Ryan.
I am the head. The buck stops with me. You find out a meeting was canceled,
maybe you've been here, right?
And you can't go back. I don't care if you're in the car. I don't care where you are.
Right.
You can't go back. Noem left the witness table a few minutes after noon for the FEMA council meeting that was slated to begin at 1 p.m., which the Hill independently verified has been canceled.
That's crazy. So she didn't want to answer the questions. That was a good excuse, though. Hold on, Homeland Security. Okay. Oh, wait, is this the part?
Has to leave, and I would now I apologize. The gentleman's time has expired. I know the secretary has to leave, and I would now recognize the gentlelady from Texas, Ms. Johnson, for 5 minutes of questions.
I'm just going to take the position that she was scared of my questions. Mr. Chairman, if we could stop the clock and
Oh yes,
wait
no,
till after all
absolutely.
this.
Clerk will suspend.
Wait, so she got up
From
right then?
Texas, Ms. Johnson, 5 minutes of questions.
What? They got up right then?
Would now recognize.
That's crazy. They got up right then and just walked out. Okay.
Fentanyl, drug and human trafficking, violent crime, stress on local emergency response services caused substantial damage to my district, to our state, to my constituents, to people that live and work in Texas. And in response, our state launched Operation Lone Star to secure the border when the Biden administration abdicated their responsibility to do that. We built miles of border wall. We had other barriers. We deployed state troopers, National Guard to deter the invasion that we suffered during.
105, okay, right here.
Republicans and Democrats coming forward with how FEMA should go forward in the future based on the president's vision for making sure that states get the chance to manage it and that local emergency managers get the chance to go and help their communities in a much more efficient way.
Take those monies and let's move it to true national security through waste and inefficiencies. Where we've deployed money for snow movement. We have deployed money previously to move snow that melts. Okay, I want to just throw this open to you and Director Kent, whoever wants to take this. We have to find a balance between making sure the First Amendment is preserved at all costs, but also protecting law enforcement. These social media.
You know, I just want to respond to a lot of what Secretary Noem has just testified to. And gentlemen, I have.
This is the lady. What is going on?
I'm just going to take the position that she was scared of my questions.
Okay, yeah, that's crazy.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay,
if we could
wait,
stop.
let's see how that happened.
Online enticement
Let's go here.
threats causing people to want to embolden themselves to then go act upon those threats that we see on social media. They say the magic words. They know it's not going to get them because they don't do a direct threat, but to the
So the person that posted this, they said U.S. Home Security Secretary Kristie Noem couldn't handle the questions being asked to her hearing today, so she just left. Noem stated she needed to attend the pre-scheduled FEMA Review Council meeting. However, multiple sources, including reports from Notice and FEMA's own confirmation, indicated the meeting was actually canceled. And like Don Lemon said, she could have came back in.
indirect threat. It's always trying to accomplish the same purpose. How do we preserve the First Amendment? This is a lawmaking exercise and why we hold these hearings, not for show. How do we come up with a way to preserve the First Amendment and stop the insanity of these indirect threats that are going after your law enforcement officials?
I apologize. The gentleman's time has expired. I know the secretary has to leave, and I would now recognize the gentlelady from Texas, Ms. Johnson, for 5 minutes of questions.
She like, well, she's leaving.
I'm just going to take the position that she was scared of my questions.
Oh, and this lady sitting here, I seen her get arrested at an ICE facility too. Is it La Monica or something like that?
Mr. Chairman, if we could stop the.
That was kind of rude. So I wonder if they knew that she was leaving prior to that, or did they just find out at that moment?
Clock and
Yep. Oh, yes,
wait
no,
till after all
absolutely.
this.
Clerk will suspend.
If we could reset the time,
Yes.
that would be helpful.
We'll reset the clock. Gentlelady, prepared?
What the heck? I agree. What? How y'all feel about that? What was all that?
Okay. Thank you.
Gentlelady's recognized.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
A cat fight on the way out.
I just want to respond to a lot
Knock
of
her
what Secretary Noem has just testified to. And gentlemen, I have some comments that I hope you'll take back to the Secretary and to the Department. If there's anything that is clear about what is going on in this country, is that the rhetoric and fear that is happening is at an all-time escalated high. And we're all describing different aspects of it. Fear of law enforcement, fear of citizens, fear of people who are legally in this country, because it's the rhetoric that is happening from the very top that is being decimated down level, and that is really, really dangerous. And one of the things that the Secretary said was she is restoring the rule of law. That is absolutely not true, because the rule of law is founded on two fundamental principles: that if you are going to be subject to a criminal arrest in this country, that there is probable cause to do so. You can't just snatch somebody walking into a coffee shop because of the color of their skin. There's no probable cause for that. And also that you will get due process. And that is not happening. And so what you're seeing is an overwhelming frustration of the American people in this country, that the lack of respect and regard for the rule of law by this administration, and in particular by this secretary, is at a level that we have never seen and violates all of the constitutional norms and all of the principles of legal fairness in this country.
Her leaving said a lot, and so what she said, according to the Hill, it says Noem, she's accused of misleading the House Homeland Security Committee members when she said she was departing a Thursday hearing early to attend another meeting that was actually canceled. And it goes on to say it's an assertion denied by Noem's office, which says she only found out her meeting was canceled after she left the witness table. So she didn't say after she left the building or after they put off. She said after she left the table. So they definitely, you would think they could have just turned around, came back and finished the meeting, right? So Representative Benny Thompson moved to subpoena Noem to reappear before the panel, saying she's skirted her duties and may have even lied about needing to attend a meeting of FEMA. Council convened to determine the future of the disaster agency. So beyond putting Noem in hot water with the committee Democrats, the cancellation raised questions about the Trump administration's plan to diminish FEMA and give more power to states to respond to disasters. I understand a good information that FEMA council meeting was canceled, so there was no need for her to go, Thompson said, referring to the meeting. Yeah, that wasn't a good look. But it says Noem left the witness table a few minutes after noon, okay, for the FEMA council meeting that was slated to begin actually at 1 p.m. So she left minutes after noon for a 1 p.m. meeting, which the Hill independently verified has been canceled. Thompson mentioned Noem also spent time in the committee's ante room after leaving the witness table, suggesting she did not immediately head to her next meeting. Wow. So the secretary found out at 12:26 that the meeting was canceled. So, but she left the table a little bit after noon. So, wow. Republicans voted down Thompson's motion to again call her before the Republicans voted down Thompson's motion to again call her before the committee. Noem said earlier in the hearing, that she would need to leave to attend the FEMA council meeting. Yeah, she mentioned right before she stood up, unless she mentioned it earlier and we didn't hear. So let's see. It says Noem said earlier in the hearing that she would need to leave to attend the FEMA council meeting. And she said, I have to actually leave this hearing early because, well, when she said that, she was getting up leaving. So she told them when she was leaving. But anyway, it says I have to actually leave this hearing early because of the FEMA Review Council is giving their report today on suggestions for changes to FEMA. I have to co-chair it, but I will be leaving soon to have to go do that, Noem said. But those suggestions are Republicans and Democrats coming forward with how FEMA should go forward to the future, based on the president's vision for making sure the states get the chance to manage it. Man, listen, if a devastation happened right now, it don't sound like FEMA would do what they normally do. And we had that devastation at the campsite where the girls was washed away and they couldn't be saved. And FEMA wasn't nowhere around and nobody was notified until late. Like something about alarms didn't go off. It's just been a lot of devastating things happening. And so, but yeah, her leaving that meeting, I don't think it was a good look at all. And I don't even know if if they will actually call her back in. So Thompson said he was told Noem would stay much later and that the FBI Kash Patel also did not attend a hearing where the director traditionally testifies. That's wild. She joined the FBI Director Kash Patel in telling a U.S. committee on Homeland Security to pound sand by getting up and walking out in the middle of the hearing. He said, "We were told that she'd be there until 1:00, but she left significantly early. This is an embarrassing display from someone who can't take the heat. It's disrespectful to the committee and the Constitution and the separation of powers." Wow. That's how they feel. What do y'all think about that? It's a lot going on, y'all. I didn't even get to half the stuff I said I wanted to talk about because but I do have this. This is what Pete Hegseth had to say about the the attack that happened in Syria. Hold on, let me move this. Okay, it says, if you target Americans anywhere in the world, you will spend the rest of your brief, obnoxious life knowing the United States will hunt you, find you, and kill you. And then this is what the president had to say. Again, I mean, he has said some other stuff. He said we will retaliate. So it's going to be more action happening soon. Keep your eyes open, peeled, and all that. And y'all, please make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up, and yeah, double check to make sure you are subscribed, because quite a few people were unsubscribed. And get this loser up out of here. People are so ignorant. Anybody that comes in and you're rude for no reason, dropping shade on the host or whatever, it's something wrong with you. You must not get no attention at home. You could be a child for all I know. Quit drinking, you know there's going to be a problem. Anytime someone has to promise to quit drinking, you know there's going to be a problem. So who did that? Hedge, what was they calling them? Hedge, what they was calling them? Keg. But anyway, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. We'll be back. We will be back. We got to get back on a schedule. I have had to go to full time due to all the changes in the world. So I'm just trying to get my schedule together, y'all. But we're going to get better. But thank y'all so much for tuning in. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Make this go viral.